Cancel culture. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, Pastor Nicole here. Welcome to our Midweek Moment. This past weekend, we talked about somebody who may have been a victim of cancel culture in our modern times. Her name is Rahab. In our lesser-known series, she was a prostitute in the city of Jericho who helped save some Israelite spies and help the Israelites come into the promised land. But she had a reputation, right? She had that reputation. And what we see in our current culture is this idea of cancel culture, right? It's kind of public shaming, especially on social media, where people kind of gang up and publicly shame somebody for something they've done and kind of block them, boycott them, those kind of things when somebody does something that people disagree with. Now, this is such a nuanced topic, right? And there are certainly situations that are more delicate than others when it comes to cancel culture. Sometimes cancel culture is so silly, like the reason people get canceled is so silly. Other times it's a lot more serious. I kind of just want to talk though a little bit about this idea of completely writing people off and like publicly shaming people and kind of bullying, kind of ganging up as a mob to cancel these people. Now, I am a big believer in accountability. And if you've done something wrong, you should certainly be held accountable, and consequences are important. I'm not saying that people get off scot-free when they do something wrong. Truly not saying that. What I am saying is that God does not teach us to have a spirit of cancel culture. God teaches us to have a spirit of love, forgiveness, grace. And I really just don't think that Jesus would ever participate in cancel culture. In fact, we kind of see him do the exact opposite, right? All these people that other people had written off and kind of shunned from the community. Jesus goes and engages with those people and shows them love and grace and forgiveness when other people would be like, oh, I can't even be in the room with that person. I can't even look at that person. Jesus goes and engages with that person. So while I do think that when people do something wrong, there does need to be accountability, consequences, yes. And even a removing of support, like, if somebody's doing something wrong, I'm a big believer in, like, let's say a company is doing something wrong. I'm a big believer in boycotting and using our dollars, to make a point. That's a consequence. It's not necessarily a cancel culture, right? So there's kind of like this fine line, I think, that we have to be aware of. But when it comes to people, I just don't think that God wants us to have a spirit of canceling others, of shaming others, of kind of bullying as a community, gathering and bullying people when they've done something wrong. Accountability, yes. Consequences, yes. Shaming, no. So as you go about your week, this is just something I've been chewing on, thinking a lot about. I had a section in my sermon that I ended up taking out for time about this idea. And I think it's a great place for us to start conversation about the idea of cancel culture and how we engage in it and what's appropriate and what's not. How do we hold people accountable without shaming them? How do we make sure that consequences are given without bullying? So I'm going to be thinking about that the rest of this week. Maybe you'll join me in thinking about that as well, and how we can make sure that we're not a part of that cancel culture, but instead engaging in love, grace, forgiveness, like Jesus taught us, but also making sure that we're not giving people a free pass to do things that are wrong. There's just a lot of nuance there, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's what's been on my mind this week. I wanted to share it with you. And I hope you'll join us this weekend as we wrap up our series, Life Lessons of the Lesser Known, talking about some sisters who raised their voice when it would have been a lot easier not to. So we'll see you this weekend in person or online, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.